Welcome back to Cloud's Retirement Chat. I am John Jagay. Tommy Cloud from Third Act Retirement is with me as always. Good to be with you, Tommy.
Good to be with you, my friend John.
And today we're talking about a topic that I have the hardest time getting my head around. So I'm hoping you can kind of dumb it down for me. Maybe not our audience, but at least for me. I need some explanation on everything that has to do with annuities. Where should we start?
Well, we will start, and we will make it where you can understand it. You're a smart guy, John, so I'm sure you'll catch on to this quite easily. Annuities are investment products, we'll call them, insurance products, to be more exact, that are created by insurance companies, and they're put into wrappers that we call annuities.
Okay.
Now, annuities, as you're putting money into annuities, you do not get to deduct them from your taxes.
Okay.
Unless the annuity is inside of an IRA. Now, that's another discussion.
Sure.
But just an annuity by itself. Now, the money will grow tax deferred. One of the things annuities can do is if you're buying securities, let's say dividend paying stocks or bonds that are spitting out a lot of interest and dividends that you're getting taxed at high rates based on your income, you can put them into an annuity for 10 or 20 years and you won't get taxed each year at the ordinary rate. You will get taxed, of course, on the growth when you pull that money out of an annuity. So going back to it, what we're talking about today is, are annuities in retirement a good idea or strategy? We hear so much about annuities as negative.
Yeah.
And it's deserved largely. I can see why. And it's based around the commissions that the insurance agents are sold. They've been sold historically through these seminars, these big, seminars where they'll, do 20 a year and they'll sell 10 million in annuities. And these guys, they sell 10 million in annuities. If they're equity indexed annuities, they can be making $700,000 a year. And let's say their seminar cost were, $100,000. Well, they're still making $600,000 for them and their employees. And so, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, again, to me, those seminars that are being cranked out about annuities kind of remind me of like the McDonald's hamburger. I mean, they serve 2 billion hamburgers, but they're not the best hamburger, I don't think. And they're not the healthiest for you. They're not like they're grass-fed with no preservatives and no antibiotics.
I'm not talking that like Wagyu beef imported from Japan, high-end stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And the buns are not, and again, McDonald's isn't claiming that. So, my point is that these seminars that are a lot in Florida and all over the country, where these guys are just, ripping out annuities. I mean, even if they do $5 million a year, that's going to be $350,000. So if they spend $100,000 on the seminars, then they're still going to have $250,000 because the commissions are so high. They're 7% on these equity index annuities. And that's what Clark Howard was getting so bent out of shape about, is when people are buying these variable annuities and they're putting in $100,000 at the time and only $95,000 can go to work for them. Those were very prevalent in the 90s. Those were normal. And now it's gotten to a point where, they've wisened up. The companies, the largest companies like Allianz have begun to make annuities for family planners. They have reduced the commissions and made it where they can pay trailers to the agents, but they'll still pay 5%. You can get them to pay 7%, but agents can now choose if they want a 5% up front, then get maybe a 0.5% a year or whatever it may be. I don't know exactly what the structure is on these annuity payments and commissions, but that was the big beef with what Clark Howard and Susie Orman and some of the other experts in finance that have these shows were so been out of shape about when it came to annuities.
Yeah, the idea that you're going to, like you said, that 5% example, you're going to commit $100,000 to something, and then you're only going to be investing 95 because 5% is coming right off the top. You can definitely see where people would get upset by something like that.
That's exactly right. So it still goes back to our question: are annuities in retirement a good idea or strategy? And It depends, of course, on the person's situation. If you,
Sure.
if clients need income, if my clients need monthly income, I'll consider it. I have clients that have had annuities that have paid them every month for the past 10 years. Never missed a payment. They continue to get it. They love it. It goes into their bank account every month. And sometimes they have more than one annuity, but I don't sell annuities. I'm a fee-only fiduciary, wealth manager, or financial planner, and holistic financial planner, whatever I could be called, would all be accurate. And when my clients go into annuity, I don't get any commission. I get 0% commission, and I get my same standard fee that I get that comes to me. That would be the same as if they had their account at Charles Schwab. So for me, it doesn't matter if my client buys the annuity or goes with Charles Schwab. It just doesn't matter. And so therefore, it gives me an opportunity to go out there and look at different annuities that are low cost, extremely low cost, and that is very important for annuities. And we'll get back to that on the cost, but one of the things I want to talk about are the different types of annuities.
Sounds like a plan.
Variable annuities have oftentimes no guarantees. Now, you can get death benefit guarantees, but those are called riders. So there's all types of guarantees you can get with riders. You can buy a rider that will give you an income guarantee down the road, but you pay extra for those. And not all insurance companies have them where they're really expensive. If you work with a financial planner that doesn't sell insurance, that can get you the low-cost ones. There are low-cost ones. But let's go back to that. So a variable annuity, let's just say one without riders, just a good old-fashioned basic variable annuity. And what they do is you put money in, and they grow the money will grow tax deferred, but there's no guarantee at all on the performance of your money.
It has to do with the market, right?
None at all. It can go down 50%. It can go up 50%. It's just like putting your money in the stock market. The only difference is that it's tax deferred, and typically the state will insure that money up to about $500,000. They may have increased it depending on your state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a variable annuity is. Do you understand that one?
Yeah, it kind of goes along with the stock market. You're risking it going up.
There's no guarantees on a variable annuity.
Got it. Okay.
Guarantees of principal on just the raw one. So then we have variable indexed annuities. They do have some protection, okay? They have buffers, what we'll call them. You can get 30%, 20%, 10% protection. And it for different time periods, 1 year, 3 year, 6 year. It all depends on the company you're going with, but let's just use the 20% as an example. You're going to be responsible. If the stock market goes down 40% and you hold it for the time period, you're going to get that protection. And let's say you're tracking the S&P 500 and your upside potential is 120%. So let's say the stock market goes down 40% over 3 years. You're only going to get back 80,000, but at least you won't get back 60,000.
Got it. Okay, you're protected.
So this is also like how an equity index annuity works as well. You can also, once you put the money in, turn on the annuitization, which just means it's just going to start paying out monthly once you put the money in the annuity.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to the equity index annuity, the variable index annuity, whatever you want to call that. And the equity index annuity, by the way, are fixed annuities and guaranteed. So let's stay on the variable index annuity. There are some guarantees and protection, but not complete. You can lose money on number 2.
Okay.
Variable index annuity, you can lose money for sure, depending on how much the stock market goes down. And based on the protection you have, your upside potential is limited. So
Sure.
you can't always participate in 100% or an unlimited amount of the upswing.
So that's the trade-off, Tom, if I'm understanding this correctly, is you're protecting yourself on the downside, but by doing that, you're also limiting your top end on the upside.
Yes and yes. By contract, you are, but not really. The stock market, the S&P 500 is not going to go up 135% in 6 years, I don't believe.
Fair.
But technically, you are, you got to disclose these things, or you can get in big trouble. If the stock market went up 150%, well, you didn't disclose this, but it's probably not going to happen. So pretty much, and it also depends on the time period. So if you go down to a 3 year or 1 year, it just might be like, well, the best you can get is like 8%. In 1 year, if it goes over 8%, you don't get that. You only get 8%. But if you go to 3 years, maybe they'll, ratchet it up to a higher percent. In 6 years, it could be unlimited. no matter how much the stock market goes up. So they give you more and more upside. And the downside protection is usually going to vary maybe from 10 to 20%. They might give you a 30% the more if you go out 6 years. The good thing about the annuities we use with our clients is that if they put their money in, they change their mind, they can get it back out without paying any commissions or penalties. So it's like, well, now you're not going to get the protection. If you put the money in and the stock market goes down 40% and you're linked to the S&P 500 or small cap index or foreign, and you can link yourself to any of those in any combination and allocation to those, then you're not going to get the money back if it drops and you take it out early. So that's the only penalty. So do you understand variable index annuity?
Yes, I am with you so far. What's next?
Let's just move to equity index annuity. These are fixed guaranteed annuities.
Okay.
You can't lose money in these. They are guaranteed. And your upside potential with the stock market is limited. So you can put your money into one of these. Your money's going to grow tax deferred like with all annuities. And this one, you know that you can't lose what you put in.
Okay.
Unless you try to take it out early, there could be a penalty, but not with the ones that I look at. These are from typical insurance agents that are making commissions. Because the company's not going to pay their agent 5 to 7% and then have the client just whip all their money out of there. And, someone's going to have to pay that commission. So with the kind that I use, you can pull your money out if you don't want it, but you put your money in and they're going to have like a cap. We're going to be 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, 9 years, whatever the time period is to the S&P 500 or another index. It's common. Or the Russell 2000 for small caps. And your cap it could be 40% for the time period. It could be an average of 6.25% a year. And the downside protection is there is no downside. You literally can only make money in these if your underlying asset goes up. So these, when you get them, the commission ones can be very expensive. The ones that we use with our clients are stripped down of commissions and extra fees and distributed through only fee-only fiduciaries like myself, RIAs that don't work for commission. And so they don't have to worry about paying me a commission and putting in those extra fees, and they've lowered that. So that is an equity indexed annuity. Do you understand that one?
I'm with you so far, Tommy. I know we're starting to run up against the clock a little before we get to expenses. We got a couple other ones to cover in terms of types of annuities, right?
Yes. The single premium deferred annuity works kind of like a CD, except, again, it's tax deferred. You put your money in, it's in there for 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 years, and you get your guaranteed interest rate. So it could be 1% a year, 2% a year, whatever when I got in the industry, it was much higher than that. But whatever the going rate is for your economy that you're functioning in, that's the rate you'll get per year on a tax deferred basis at the end of that time. You'll have that full amount of money, and you can either roll it into another annuity and keep growing tax deferred, which would be called a 1035 exchange, or you can take your money out and you'll pay taxes on the gains. Does that one make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
And that one's guaranteed. The final one's guaranteed as well. It's called a single premium immediate annuity. You put in a chunk of money and it starts paying you monthly immediately. So by getting paid monthly, you're getting back some of your principal and some interest. You're going to pay taxes on the interest. Most of it's principal, though, and because of this large chunk you put in, and because interest rates are so low, and that'll pay you it could be 5 years certain, 10 years certain. It could pay you for your life. It could pay you for your life and your spouse's life. It could pay you for your life, you for your spouse's life, and then if there's any money left over, it could go to your children as well. That's a single premium immediate annuity. That's guaranteed as well. That one makes payments immediately. Do you understand that one?
Yes, sir. I'm with you. So you did a good job explaining of all of these so
Beautiful.
far. Okay, so
those are the 5 annuities I wanted to discuss today: variable indexed, equity indexed, single premium deferred annuity, and single premium immediate annuity.
So we're kind of basing this off the article on your website, Tommy, at thirdactretirement.com, and the article we're looking off today is "Are Annuities a Good Strategy for Retirement?" And one of the sections you have in this article has to do with expenses of annuities. What do you want to cover as far as the expenses?
Yeah, the expenses are talking about the commissions, the mortality and expense, and the cost that you have there. You have administrative cost, the M&E expenses, and mortality and expense. So when you're looking at an annuity, it can have quite a few costs, particularly that M&E. You want to watch that. The annuities that we use for our clients do not, because we're an RIA, and I've mentioned that several times, but that's the truth. That's how it is.
Yep.
And then you've got a commission up front. So these annuities can carry a tremendous amount of expenses. I remember one of my clients that I have today came from one of the largest broker dealers in the world that at the time everyone knew the name of. And I think it still has the same name, but I don't want to say it. But her fees all in on her annuities plus her advisor and everything, she was paying 3.75% per year. And this wasn't like with some unknown company. This is with a very, very well-known large company that everybody knows. And I just couldn't understand why she was being charged so much. The expenses were just ridiculous. So she became a client of mine about 10 plus years ago. She's still a client today. She's moved to Pennsylvania, but I still serve her. And it's one of those things where if you don't have an analysis done on your annuity, you probably won't know how much you're paying. And we do those, and we have a team of people that do those analysis for people of their annuities to see what they're paying at no cost. And it's something I would recommend to anybody that's had an annuity for a while. We're getting ready in November. I have a client with an annuity maturing, and we're getting ready to roll that out of the annuity into their Charles Schwab account to completely eliminate all those fees. There's just no need for them.
Gotcha. Okay. The last thing you mentioned in the article on your website, Tommy, is this Morningstar study regarding annuities. Can you get into that a little bit?
Sure. I know you're a big Bill Belichick fan over there, big boy.
I am.
And you just love those Patriots, man. Can't get enough of them. But that would also tell me that you understand things about football. And for those people that are listening, in football, the number one stat to wins and losses is turnovers.
Right.
And the team with the most turnovers typically loses. The team with the least turnovers typically wins. If you had to pick one stat, that would be the stat.
Yeah.
Of course, many times a team has turned the ball over more and still won. Yeah,
right.
Many times. Well, this Morningstar study is the same way. They did a study on mutual funds and broke them into 5 categories. The top 20% of the most expensive and the bottom 20% of the least expensive annuities. They didn't look at anything but what the expenses were, what the internal costs were on this annuity. And they found, and it's in my article here, and you can click on the article and go read this yourself, but they found that there was a 100% correlation on the fees. So in other words, if you look at the percentile from the 20th to the 40th percentile, it performed worse than the 40th to the 60th. So the ones that were in the 20th to 40th in their fees being in the top 20 to 40% and how expensive they were, performed worse than the 40 to 60. And the 40 to 60 performed worse than the